All right, folks, this is Jack Antonio with Do You Know Jack Radio Show. And on the line with me today, all the way over to the Netherlands for this one, I've got Mark Jansen of Epica. How you doing, man?
Doing pretty well. It's insanely hot in this room where I'm sitting, but besides that, I'm fine.
Well, now you guys have got a brand new EP called the Solace System, set to release September 1st. Now, I think there's a story behind this, right? I think, these are tracks that you couldn't fit on into the holographic principle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's right. We had a lot of tracks recorded for the holographic principle, and then we had this difficult task to make a selection of songs to make it to the album. And usually it's already hard because there's always different opinions. But this time it was even harder because all songs were written to be album songs. And then it was even more hard to make a decision. So we just picked the songs that had the best flow, one after the other. And then there were 6 songs left that could have been easily as well on the album. And that's also why we decided to keep them together and not release them as bonus tracks, because we thought it would be a pity if only, like, for example, one song would end up on the Japanese edition and nobody else in the world would be able to get that song.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided to keep them together and release them as an EP. And like this, I think they get the space and position which they deserve.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're going to release this sort of as a part of a larger box set too. People have that option, right?
Yeah, that people have that option too, but you can also just get the EP on its own, so everybody can decide which version they want.
Yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the holographic principle has a pretty elaborate concept behind it, right? It's kind of a concept record. So, I mean, given the fact that you write a lot of the songs and a lot of the lyrics, I mean, are these songs on the Solace System? I mean, do they fit with the overall, theme of the holographic principle too?
There, the red line you can find also on this EP. But the funny thing was that most of the songs that were not literally dealing about the holographic principle theory, that these songs didn't make it to the album. So maybe that was also unconsciously a reason why to put them aside.
Mm-hmm.
But so the songs that did fit lyric wise the best also made it to the album.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though there's still this red line you can find also on the EP, but there's more. The songs go in more in different directions lyric wise.
Now, in terms of the actual writing, just in general with Epica, I mean, there's some pretty lush and lavish orchestrations. I mean, are you responsible for the entire thing when it comes to that?
No, usually everybody who writes his own songs also does the arrangements for the orchestra already as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then Koen, our keyboard player, he goes over it and especially rearrange the choirs.
Mm-hmm.
And together with our producer, we go over it again and rearrange some stuff to make it fit even better, because he has a lot of knowledge about the orchestras and what has to be played by which instrument. And then we make the scores, and then we start recording it. So it's quite a long and intense process until we start recording the orchestra.
That's awesome. I think now I recall that on the holographic principle, you got pretty much or close to, a full orchestra for a lot of the tracks, which gives it a really, rich, natural, organic feel. Like, being a bit of a trained musician and somewhat of a purist, I mean, you can hear a lot of the times when it's keyboards and when it's the actual thing, although the software seems to be getting better and better now for putting in the digital stuff.
Yeah, but still, even though the samples get better and better, still the real thing, it's something, a completely different world. That's also why we wanted to record it for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we sat together and we thought, what can we do better compared to the Quantum Enigma? Then it was that we wanted to record all the orchestral parts live and not use samples at all. Even though on the Quantum Enigma we already recorded the strings and of course, obviously the choirs live, but there was so much else going on, like brass, and this time we wanted to have it all: brass, woodwinds, percussion, name it, ethnic instruments. We all wanted to have that live played by people in the studio. And it's a lot more work, a hell of a job, I must say, and it caused some extra gray hairs here and there with some people. But the end result is really worth it.
Yeah, well, now I know a lot of the times, you did mention how there's a lot more pops related orchestral stuff happening these days, but I mean, a lot of classically trained musicians, they don't get some of the subtle nuances of rock and roll, which is essentially rooted in jazz and the blues. If you go back far enough, like there's a certain attack and accent structure that sometimes classical musicians don't entirely capture.
Yeah, so sometimes it's two completely different worlds. But like I said, I really noticed that it's coming more and more together. And also recently we won a contest to play with the biggest orchestra in the Netherlands. The Metropole Orchestra.
Yeah, I saw that on your Facebook feed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's also like two worlds coming together. But this Metropole Orchestra, they also really advertise with like we play everything. So name it and we gonna play it. So vote for with whatever Dutch act you want us to play with, and we're gonna do it. So then people started voting like crazy for us and also for Arjen Lucas's Arian. And we were number 1 and 2. So people really wanted to see them playing with a metal band and to see, like, let's see if they really can pull that off. And so now we're going to notice it.
Well, I think the contest is that you get to work through one song with the orchestra. Is that how that goes?
Yeah. So soon we're going to sit with them and discuss what song it's going to be. And that's. I hope we can do one of these big challenge songs that it's really fun doing it instead of a safe and easy choice. Yeah. So, but we have to see and put all the ideas together and then see what comes out.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I have noticed about Dutch heavy metal in general is that per capita, there seems to be more, well-known symphonic metal bands. Why do you think that is, Mark?
It's hard to tell why, but I think the only reason what I can come up with is that at the beginning there was some bands starting to do this, and then other bands follow, and it's like when the grunge came up in Seattle, there was many bands at the same time developing that sound, and I think that's the same with symphonic metal in the Netherlands. A few bands together started developing that sound, the typical Dutch symphonic metal sound, and more bands from the Netherlands started doing that, and the best ones, I think, are still around, and many of those in the beginning they stopped. But that's the only reason I can come up with, or else I really have no idea.
Yeah. Now I know, I think your history goes all the way back to the band After Forever. I mean, that goes back to what, maybe about 1995, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in 1995 we started jamming with some musicians that I knew from my high school, and that's what turned into After Forever eventually, and that's where it all started. Yes.
Where did the idea come up from? The idea had to come from somewhere to add symphonic elements to it.
When I look back and we started jamming, there was especially it was Sander Commons and me, the other guitar player in After Forever. We were like the spine of the band, and he liked bands like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and I was into classical music, and also these bands like Orphanage from the Netherlands, who were already putting keyboards and female vocals in their music. And I think that combination of the both of us together created the sound that we had. And I remember that in the beginning, Sander, he was not that much pushing for his sound, so the Iron Maiden part became not so big as the symphonic metal part.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, we sometimes joked about it that when I was not in the band anymore, then that he had to play his whole life the music that wasn't 100% that what he liked to do. But yeah, it became successful, so he had to keep doing it.
He's like, "Damn you, Mark."
Yeah. It was like a curse on his burden on his shoulders.
Now with a lot of symphonic metal bands, there seems to be sort of a really interesting and eclectic mixture of the Romantic era and the Baroque era, and I can definitely hear it in Epica's sound.
Yeah, and also of course that there's a lot of Koens, the keyboard player, his background in our music, because he's the keyboard player, but also the guy who takes care of the choirs.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, it is really of everybody's background coming together, and also everybody in the band has the freedom to add his stuff to the band. And I think also that's what keeps it interesting. It's always a bit different than it was before, and we haven't had many lineup changes, but the ones we had, everybody who came in the band brought something new to the table.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, as I mentioned, the Solace System releases September 1st via Nuclear Blast. You guys have sort of planned a pretty significant North American tour, right around the release time of this, including stops in Montreal and Quebec City and Toronto. I mean, what can we expect in terms of the Epica set lists and so on and so forth when you guys, head across the pond and hit North America?
We definitely want to play also something from the EP.
Mm-hmm.
And we also we always look what we have played the last time, and then we make a set list a bit different, so that we always have some different songs in the set that we compare to the last time.
Mm-hmm.
But we also play the classics that everybody wants to hear. So it's always finding the right balance between songs that everybody wants to hear and some refreshing songs that we haven't played in a long time, or something new like from the EP. So we're still building it, but we're getting there.
And you're going out with Lacuna Coil, Insomnium, and Elantris. I'm assuming, at least with Lacuna Coil and probably in Insomnium, that these are bands that you go way back with. Yes.
Lacuna Coil, I know them already for many years at their music, but also personally. You see each other at festivals all around the world, and I think when I met them already for the first time must have been like 2006 or 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since, the contact has always been nice, and some guys always come to see us when we play in Milan or in other places in Italy. And this is the first time that we're actually going to tour together, so it's really exciting. And so they are also excited, we are very excited. And Insomnium is the same thing. We have even some big Insomnium fans in our own band. So, so to have them on the tour with us, it's really, really cool. And also these guys, they are really very friendly guys. And I've seen them 3 days ago. We played on the same festival in Spain. And 1 week before, we played on the same festival as well. So with them, it's the same. You see each other so often because you play often the same festival, and it's always it's always fun. It's always we hang out, and we always have a good time with them. They are Finns, and they always need a few drinks, and then they are in an extremely good mood. So it's very, very nice.
What's the beer of choice on the Epica bus? Does it have to be Heineken?
It has to be not Heineken. Yeah, it's really true. And whenever we feel we see a fridge filled with Heineken, we turn around and we don't play in that venue. Yeah, we know that everywhere around the world they consider this as a classy beer, and people love it. So we don't want to destroy everybody's uh, opinion about Heineken, but we consider it as a classy piss. And it's not a joke. Really, many Dutch people think the same the same way.
Oh wow. Wow, you've just shattered my, at least a little bit of the stereotypical image I had in my head of Dutch people.
Yeah, people always think that we are very proud of Heineken, and then we play somewhere, and then they come with a Heineken, and then of course you don't want to be rude, you drink it,
Yeah.
and it's after two beers it starts tasting not so bad anymore actually, but but the first sip is always yeah, can be better.
One thing I've noticed now is a lot of bands are starting to get into brewing companies and having signature beers. Of course, Iron Maiden being the most
Yeah,
well
hell of
known of the bunch. But
yeah.
would that be
Yeah,
something Epica would ever get into?
I see ourselves getting a wine, but not a beer. Even though we had once already, we got this Epica beers from
Mm-hmm.
Brand. It's a Dutch brand, Brand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's even written the same way as Brand. And that's a Limburgian beer. And when we played on a Limburgian festival, they gave us Epica beers. And
Nice.
this brand beer is actually an amazing beer. That's one of the beers that I'm really proud of the Netherlands.
There
Together
you
with
go.
together with Hertog Jan, which is very insane to pronounce, but
Yeah.
for us it's easy to pronounce. But everybody says what Hertog Jan? That's yeah, it's like a duke with a crown on his head, sitting there with a beer in his hand. When people see it, they will recognize it, and that's an amazing beer. Together
Nice.
also with Jan.
See,
Yeah.
you're talking to a Canadian when the conversation veers into beer. Well,
Yeah, and
listen.
we have also one Belgian guy in the band, and these Belgian people, they also think that they have the best beers in the world.
Yeah, yeah, they do. Actually, one of my biggest regrets is I couldn't consume any beer when I was in Belgium on a I'm a teacher and I was supervising a school trip, and of course we're not allowed to consume
Ah, yeah, yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
as chaperones. So it was just like no. Yeah,
You
can't.
actually drank a few beers, but you can't admit it on radio.
Yeah. Well, now looking ahead with Epica, I noticed you guys have announced that you're going to play Vakken in 2018. But I mean, what else?
Yeah.
What else are you guys looking at down the road? I mean, you got this tour, you got the EP coming out. But I mean, are you guys the kind of band that's sort of always writing and working on new things, or once you put out something, do you have to sit on it for a while, or?
Yeah, for 15 years we have been working and releasing and writing all the time, non-stop. But that's why we thought now is time after this leg, this which ends this tour leg ends in August of 2018.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we will take some time to do some travels that we wanted to do, or be at home, whatever. But everybody has some time off to reload the battery and then start working on the new stuff, but in a slower pace than we are used to. And like this, I think, because with the holographic principle, we created something in our in our own eyes, in our own, how you say that, in our own opinion,
Mm-hmm.
which is so far the best we did. So now we need to take a bit more time to be able, I think, to make something, or try to make something better than that. I don't know if we're going to succeed, but if we take a bit more time, I think that's the only chance that we make something that can be possibly better.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me all the way up here in Northern Canada with the Jack radio show. And, we'll certainly keep abreast of all things Epica over the next little while. And, of course, The new EP is great. What
Yeah.
one thing that really I really enjoyed with the new EP is the ballad on there. Geez, I'm trying to remember what the song is. I got it in front of me. Wait a minute here. Immortal Melancholy.
Yeah.
I think that really shows off Simone's voice.
Yeah, that's what I always say as well. In the ballads, she sounds the best because then it's this ballads have more space, and then she really can show what she's got in the ballads. There you can really hear what she can do,
Yeah.
and I am really happy with that ballad indeed. And that was also for me a pity that one couldn't make it to the album. Because that was one of the songs that I had on my list to be on the album. But yeah, you have to drop some, and now it has a nice place on the EP.
There you go. Well, I think that it would be a perfect occasion to play that one on the show. So, Mark, thanks for being on with us today. And this is Immortal Melancholy off of the brand new Epica EP Solace System.